After we got back together, Edward noticed that many of my habits had changed. I no longer arranged the plates neatly with that almost OCD-like precision. I would toss my clothes onto the sofa without bothering to put them away. Even after sex, I would simply roll over and fall asleep right away. I no longer frowned at him and urged him to go take a shower like before. Edward finally realized something was wrong. "Have you been too tired from work lately?" My tone was calm. "Oh, my ex-boyfriend used to help me clean up afterward on his own. I got used to it." Bang, Edward accidentally shattered the cup. Chapter 1. I frowned and clicked my tongue. That cup was a one-of-a-kind piece I deliberately hunted for. "Forget it, just clean it up." "Sorry, I'll buy you a new one." Edward quickly put away the look of losing control. He squatted down to pick up the ceramic shards. His knuckles turned faintly white. He noticed the tattoo on my ankle, a rain lily in full bloom. After a long moment, Edward asked in a hoarse voice, "Does this tattoo have any special meaning?" I glanced down at it. "Not really. I just like this flower, so I got it tattooed." Edward seemed relieved. I didn't tell him, this tattoo was actually done by a former boyfriend who brought me to his friend's shop. It was half price. Quite a good deal. He had asked me the same question Edward just did. His tone had been casual, but the anticipation in his eyes was obvious. My answer was the same as now. I just liked the flower. Storm and rain aren't the end, they're a signal for blooming. It has become a symbol of my life. After that brief interlude, breakfast passed in silence. I stood up. "The cleaner will come later. Just open the door for her." Edward took the initiative to gather the dishes. "I'm off today. I can clean." I looked at him. "Didn't you hate doing housework when we were dating before?" We lived together too. Back then, I fantasized about us spending weekends cleaning the house together while listening to music. But Edward always said, "You can just hire a maid for that kind of thing." After a few attempts, I gave up. I've got slight OCD and a cleanliness obsession. I don't like traces of outsiders in private spaces, so I did everything myself. I didn't expect to one day see Edward willingly doing housework. He smiled, though a flash of urgency and unease crossed his eyes. "This is what I should do as your boyfriend, isn't it?" "All right then." I turned and left without saying more. Chapter 2. This was my first team-building event since transferring to headquarters. I paid out of my own pocket to treat everyone, and my subordinates were all very enthusiastic. After soaking in the hot spring, we moved to a small bar. Things got a little wild. I drank a bit too much. A delicate, good-looking male intern volunteered eagerly to take me home. My colleagues waggled their brows, shooting me looks as if I were blessed with romantic fortune. Amid the teasing, the intern's face flushed completely red. Although I don't consider office romances, it didn't hurt to appreciate the view. Just as I was about to nod and agree, an arm wrapped around my waist, and a familiar voice sounded by my ear. "I'll take her home." My slightly hazy gaze landed on his refined jawline. It took me a few seconds to react. "Dominic. What are you doing here?" He lowered his eyes, long lashes casting a soft shadow. "Meeting a few friends. Didn't expect to run into a drunkard." I clicked my tongue and instinctively relaxed into his arms. Dominic caught me steadily. "I'm heading out first. You guys should go home early too." "Okay, Manda." The intern pressed his lips together in disappointment, and the others immediately pulled him away. I vaguely heard them whispering, "Manda's boyfriend is so handsome. Stop dreaming and focus on your work." I looked at Dominic with a half-smile. "Boyfriend? You really like letting people misunderstand, don't you?" Dominic's lips curved for a brief moment. "Well, your boyfriend isn't doing his job, so I can only fill in for a bit." I poked his secretly pleased face. "Don't flatter yourself. Even if I date 10 more people, it still wouldn't be your turn." Dominic's smile vanished. He pressed his lips together and lifted me slightly. "Walk properly." "I can't walk." After a long moment, Dominic sighed softly, a hint of helplessness flickering in his eyes. "Amanda, I really must owe you something." He lifted me into his arms, carried me to my car with practiced ease, placed me in the passenger seat, and buckled my seatbelt. By the time he finished the whole routine, I was already fast asleep. Just as he closed the door, a fist came swinging toward him. Chapter 3. Dominic took the punch without making a sound. He pushed the furious Edward away, and placed a long, slender finger to his lips. "Keep it down. She's asleep." Edward found the whole thing absurd, though he still lowered his voice. "I'm her boyfriend." "I know." Dominic sighed and handed him the car key. He pointed at his slightly bruised cheekbone. "I'll let it go this time. Just take good care of her." She drank. "Her throat will definitely feel uncomfortable in the morning. You should make her a bowl of throat-soothing soup, white radish and green sugarcane cut into chunks and simmered, then sprinkle in a bit of goji berries." Noticing Edward's look of disbelief, Dominic frowned slightly. "You're not even willing to do that? I don't understand why Amanda is with you." Edward's chest heaved violently. It felt like inhaling blades, every breath slicing through his organs. He clenched his fists tightly. "I'm her first love." "Who the hell are you?" Dominic's expression changed immediately. His brow bone lowered, eyes turning sharp. All traces of gentleness disappeared without a shadow. "You're Edward." Edward froze. The next moment, someone grabbed his collar, and before he could react, he took 3 brutal punches. Each one landed solidly, as if meant to kill. After his shock faded, rage erupted. He gritted his teeth and was about to strike back. But Dominic pulled back his fist. He took a few deep breaths, forcing himself to calm down, then turned and left. Edward stood frozen, swallowed by a wave of incomprehensible confusion. He could feel Dominic's hostility toward him, even hatred. Stiffly, he turned his neck and looked at the woman sleeping in the car. "In the 6 years we were apart, what on earth happened?" Chapter 4. Maybe it was because I returned to a familiar place. I actually dreamed of the past. 6 years ago, I received an opportunity for a company-sponsored training program abroad. I couldn't wait to escape City H, the city that had witnessed me bloom and wither. Edward and I had been each other's first love. We even planned to get married right after college. But the appearance of Edward's childhood sweetheart shattered everything I had looked forward to. She said Edward changed his university choice only because he'd quarreled with her. She said she had skin hunger and couldn't live without him. She said Edward had always loved her. At first, Edward explained to me, promising he wouldn't meet her again. Later, he said he only saw Alicia as a sister and would never cross the line. In the end, he brought Alicia into our home. Right in front of me, he held her in an intimate embrace. "Amanda, how long are you going to make a fuss? We're just treating her condition." He was so brazen because I gave him that confidence. Back then, I was obsessed with achieving a perfect 3-step life path. An excellent academic degree. A job with clear upward mobility. A love that lasted from campus to wedding vows, never breaking up. After countless nights of heartbreak so sharp it pierced my chest, I finally understood. Academic degrees and careers could be achieved with hard work. But love was the one thing that couldn't. After clinging on for so long, I couldn't even tell whether it was my perfectionism at play or whether I genuinely loved him that much. When Edward once again threatened me with a breakup, I finally agreed. I changed my phone number, deleted my WeChat, and never wanted to have any more contact with him. 6 years passed. I had dated several times. Flings were too many to count. After enough experiences, I became skilled and comfortable in relationships. I gradually realized how ridiculous it was to hang myself on one single tree. A whole forest was made of countless trees of different forms and charms. Only by walking among them could you see a different scenery with each step. When I met Edward again, I had permed my hair, looking mature and beautiful. He had grown thinner, turning cold and restrained. Edward said he regretted everything the moment I left. He wanted to get back together and start over. I was also curious whether this tree still had the kind of magic that once made me give up an entire forest. Besides, a few ex-boyfriends had been too clingy. I needed a new relationship to make them behave for a while. After agreeing to reconcile, they did quiet down quite a bit. But I kept having a feeling that things would not stay peaceful for long. Chapter 5. When I woke up, my head was splitting. Edward timely handed me a bowl of hangover soup. I noticed a band-aid wrapped around one of his fingers. Thanks. Must have been a lot of trouble. He didn't respond. I took a sip and was a little surprised. Wasn't this the same nourishing throat-soothing soup Dominic always made for me? I couldn't help laughing. You ran into Dominic last night? Looking up, I finally noticed his bruised eye socket and tense expression. I frowned. Who hit you? Edward's tone was not pleasant. Probably that Dominic you mentioned. That's impossible. He doesn't hit people. You two are pretty close, huh? I finished the soup and handed him the bowl. Well, he's sort of one of my ex-boyfriends. Don't get mad at him. He always acts like he's above everyone else. Just pretend he doesn't exist. Edward latched onto a particular word, his gaze sharpening instantly. Sort of? His voice grew heavier. He's not your only ex-boyfriend? I looked at him in confusion. What else would you think? You didn't seriously believe that in the past 6 years I only had one relationship, right? Bang, another bowl shattered. I really couldn't take it anymore. My expression darkened. If you have Parkinson's, go get it treated. Can't you hold things properly? Edward turned his face away abruptly, and a tear fell. He crouched down, letting the sharp ceramic shards cut into the flesh of his palm. His fingertips trembled. I got out of bed and walked straight past him toward the bathroom. Chapter 6. Dominic messaged me precisely at the time he knew I'd be awake. Awake now? Did he make you hangover soup? I typed while brushing my teeth. You hit him? He replied quickly. He hit me first. Pouting emoji. Did your boyfriend pick a fight with you? Did he misunderstand something? Should I go over and explain to him? 3 messages in a row, as if afraid people wouldn't see his urgency. I replied, cut the act. You were probably thrilled watching us argue. Dominic sent a pressed lips smile emoji. When I first went abroad, I looked normal during the day, working, attending training. At night, I had to fight jet lag, insomnia, and the lingering pain of heartbreak. Within a month, I lost another 10 pounds. For a long time, I hovered around only 35 kilograms. It was Dominic who forcefully broke into my life. He cooked different kinds of nourishing soups for me every day. Dominic's grandfather was a famous Chinese medicine doctor. He grew up immersed in that world, and the personalized diet therapy he made for me worked remarkably well. But I still resisted letting him get close. Dominic let me vent however I wanted. No matter how I tried to drive him away, he never left. He said he owed me. If it weren't for him, I would never have met Edward. No one knew that Dominic and I were desk mates for 3 years in high school. My first crush was him. We didn't date young, but we agreed to get into the same university. But Dominic broke that promise. He decided to study abroad, and I was the last person to know. His late explanation meant nothing. I cut off all contact with him decisively. A year later, at the university we were supposed to attend together, I met Edward. Dominic said he must atone for what he did. Since I couldn't get rid of him, I simply accepted it. His nourishing meals, his connections, his body, I accepted everything with ease. Quietly, my entire mindset underwent a near rebirth transformation. Like someone breaking a jar because it's already cracked, and also like someone leveling up in understanding. During the 2 years abroad, we kissed, hugged, slept together. It felt like a transaction no one knew about. When time was up, I was transferred back to the domestic branch. Naturally, that undefined relationship ended. After returning home, I dated with a live-in-the-moment mindset. Some relationships were fresh like citrus, others were passionate like roses. I fully immersed myself in the pleasure of exploration. But there were always people who didn't want to end things cleanly. Dominic was one of them. He gave up the future his family planned for him and secretly returned to start a business. Every time I started dating someone new, he disappeared. Whenever I broke up, he reappeared. He kept just the right distance. I had no reason to kick him out of my life. Besides, he was like a white moonlight, a presence too luminous to erase. So I let him be. Chapter 7. I sat on the sofa and glanced around. The house had been tidied perfectly by Edward. Since we reconciled, he seemed deeply uneasy about my attitude toward him. He would ask repeatedly whether I loved him whenever my eyes were hazy with desire. If I said yes, he became more intense. So I was happy to answer. After 6 years, the old love and hate had already faded away. What I remembered most clearly was his skill in bed. Objectively speaking, lacking technique, but made up for it with passion. I didn't mind guiding him to develop better service awareness. He had been doing well. But after a full day of Cold War, he became rough. I was in pain and slapped him hard. He froze briefly, sweat dripping onto my collarbone. What followed was a storm no one could resist. I grabbed his hair tightly. Edward arched back, exposing his sweat-slick neck, glowing under the moonlight. Afterward, I lay there catching my breath. I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. Before I come back, remember to give me your latest medical screening report. Even though we took precautions, nothing is ever 100% certain. I once dated a player, and I've been especially careful about this ever since. Edward also had a past, so asking him for a checkup wasn't unreasonable. I was too busy to fact-check the alibis he carefully fabricated. The only thing I trusted was a proper hospital report. Edward let out a small laugh, staring ahead blankly. So that means you should be giving me a health report too, right? He turned his head to look at me, lips curved in sarcasm. I have to make sure you're not sleeping with your exes. I rolled off the bed and flipped the light on with a sharp click. You're right. Edward stiffened, hearing me continue. Let's break up. Half a month should be enough time for you to move out of my place. Amanda. Edward grabbed my wrist tightly, his face stretched to its limit. What do you take me for? I let out a short laugh, though my eyes were cold. Edward, what right do you think you have to negotiate with me? You still don't seem to understand. It was you who asked to get back together, not me. Chapter 8. After getting off the plane, the first thing I did was look for a friend to go drinking with. The music in the bar was deafening. I turned down several cute young boys who came over to hit on me. My friend teased with a laugh. Amanda, you're still as charming as ever. I took a sip of my drink, feeling the burn in my throat. I'm getting older. I prefer someone more mature now. But right after stepping out of the bar, I saw a college student I used to hook up with. I was speechless. Shamelessly, I felt tempted again. Lucas had just graduated from college. Still dressed in casual hoodies. Youthful energy was practically spilling out of that bright smile. Manda, what a coincidence. He strode toward me with his long legs. My friend shot me a knowing look, patted my shoulder, and left. Lucas looked like a naive sweetheart. But in reality, he was sharper than anyone. His puppy-like eyes shimmered a little. Sweetheart, you broke up, right? You only come to bars when you're newly single. I glanced at him, he knew me well. Indeed, I'm a very principled person. Tada. He pulled out a freshly printed medical test report from his pocket. The moment I saw you, I ran to get it done. See? A simple health check. If someone cares, you don't need to teach them. If someone doesn't, teaching is pointless. I glanced at the report. Oh. A famous private hospital. No wonder it was so fast. Lucas lightly pressed his lips together, ears turning a little red. Sweetheart, can you let me stay with you tonight? I'll do anything you want. Well, what else needed to be said? Sharing half a bed wasn't a big deal. I brought Lucas back to the hotel. The moment the door opened, he kissed me eagerly, voice muffled. Sweetheart. I missed you so much. Lucas was naturally talented in bed. Like he was born for the role of a male model. Young men never know how to hold back. He was willing to do anything to make me feel good. After it ended, I needed several minutes to come back to my senses. While I was relaxing in a flower bath, I suddenly heard a gasp. Lucas rushed in and pulled the bathroom door open in a panic. Sweetheart, someone video called you just now, and I accidentally answered it. His face was full of guilty fear, but his eyes shone with triumph. I took my phone. Oh, the call was still connected. Chapter 9. Edward noticed the kiss marks on my collarbone, and his expression changed instantly. Amanda, Who is he? I raised a brow slightly. Aren't you always paranoid that I'd sleep with my exes? I just made it happen for real. Happy now? Edward's cold, rigid expression collapsed in a second. Blood drained from his face, making the redness in his eyes look even more intense. His voice stuck in his throat. Amanda, don't treat me like this. But hadn't he treated me exactly like this before? When I caught him kissing Alicia passionately, when I asked him in emotional collapse, he said, "Isn't this what you wanted to see? Are you satisfied now?" What a double standard. Why was it allowed for him, but not for me? His tears meant nothing to me. My smile faded. Did you forget we already broke up? Stop interrupting my night with someone else. Thanks. Once I hung up the call, Lucas quickly hid his gloating expression and put on an innocent face. Sweetheart, did I cause trouble for you? I reached out and hooked a finger around his bathrobe belt. In his delighted gaze, I yanked him toward me. Water splashed everywhere, soaking his face. Lucas, if you pull that stunt again, don't ever appear in front of me. It was like he plummeted straight from heaven to hell. Lucas panicked so much he stepped into the bathtub without even taking his robe off, hugging my waist tightly. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I won't ever do that again. He was terrified. Right now, his pale face looked just like Edward's. I patted his wet hair. I'll let it go this time. Chapter 10. When I first met Lucas, I only saw him as a young, energetic college boy. A potential client took me to visit my alma mater, and we happened to catch the university basketball league. We went to join the fun. Unsurprisingly, Lucas was the most dazzling sight on the court. When he lifted his jersey to wipe his sweat, the glimpse of his firm waistline was enough to make the audience scream for a long time. After dealing with too many mature elite men, a youthful college boy like Lucas was refreshing to the eyes. During halftime, he keenly sensed my gaze on him. Our eyes met, and I gave him a smile. Lucas looked away and chugged half a bottle of water. After seeing the client off, I turned around, and he was standing right behind me. Still wearing his basketball jersey. I asked, "Want to add each other on WeChat?" Lucas, ears red, pulled up his QR code for me to scan. I spent some time establishing common ground with him. On weekends, I occasionally accompanied him to play basketball, hike, or go on short trips. Before we got together, I always thought he was the cold, aloof type. But the more time we spent together, the clingier he became. Like he had severe separation anxiety. Barely apart for a while and he'd bombard me with messages. If I didn't reply in time, he'd video call immediately. That was still within tolerable limits. Until he started showing extreme possessiveness. Interrogating every male contact in my phone. Restricting my normal work socializing. Even following me several times, and getting caught. My friend said I must have encountered someone ice-footed, meaning someone emotionally unstable and obsessive. If he's cold and broken, then go warm him up, why torture a normal person like me? I immediately broke up with him. He cried, begged, threatened, I ignored all of it. After I started my next relationship, Lucas finally accepted reality. He didn't dare make a scene anymore, only begging to stay by my side like a hidden lover, satisfied as long as I occasionally favored him. Something like that. Just like Dominic, vanishing when I date someone, appearing when I'm single. Since he acted like that, I couldn't say much. He was emotionally wired differently from normal people. I couldn't understand it, but I respected it. Chapter 11. During the 2-week business trip, I was very busy. Running projects during the day, working overtime at night. As soon as I got back to the hotel, I'd open my laptop. Lucas didn't sit around either. He didn't like the hotel food. Every day, he traveled far to line up and buy meals for me. He sliced my favorite fruits into a platter and placed it at the side. When he saw I was almost done with work, he'd run the bath and adjust the water temperature to perfection. Feeling sorry for how hard I worked, he'd give me long massages every night. He even specifically learned massage techniques from an old master. Though it always ended with us tumbling into bed, I had to admit, he was truly attentive. With Lucas around, Not only did I not look exhausted after the business trip, I returned with rosy cheeks and excellent complexion. I hummed a tune happily as I got home. Turning on the lights, I saw the place spotless, but no one in sight. I walked into the bedroom, planning to change into comfortable loungewear. Inside the closet, Edward's clothes were still hanging there. Not a single piece missing. I clicked my tongue impatiently. Why haven't you moved out? Arms wrapped around my waist, and that familiar mint scent enveloped me from behind. Edward lowered his head and kissed my earlobe hard. His breath was rough, his voice hoarse as if his throat were filled with gravel. I'm sorry. Let's get back together, okay? I didn't say anything. Something was pressed into my palm, a crumpled medical test report. Freshly done, very recent. Fine. It was just a fight. Nothing serious. And I was in a good mood. I replied, all right, let's get back together. Edward tightened his arms around me, holding me even closer. Chapter 12. I had an appointment with an important client. But right ahead, there had been an accident. Traffic was jammed, not moving at all. My assistant grew anxious. Boss, we're going to be late. I thought for a moment. I'll get out and take the subway. Drive the car back to the company later. Just as I opened the door, a helmet was handed to me. I looked up, it was my player ex-boyfriend, Jonathan. His voice was beautiful, crisp like the sound of an ice ball dropping into a glass of whiskey. I'll take you. I didn't stand on ceremony. Then I'll trouble you. He had switched to an even cooler motorcycle. His riding style was as wild as ever. I could only hold on tightly to his waist. His lips curved slightly. He sped up. When we arrived, I stood there numb, nearly blown stupid by the wind. You did that on purpose. Jonathan chuckled. He removed his helmet, revealing a stunning face. Plus a pair of soulful peach blossom eyes, with a tiny tear mole placed perfectly at the corner. When he smiled, every other person faded into the background. I really didn't. I was just afraid you'd be late. I was briefly struck by how beautiful he was. No matter how many relationships I'd had, he was one of the most handsome exes. Thanks. Jonathan was polite. Just buy me a meal. I glanced at him and walked inside. Chapter 13. My meeting with the client went smoothly. When it ended, I found Jonathan still waiting. Only then did I remember to ask why he was in City H. Jonathan answered casually. Oh, I opened another bar here. Come visit when you're free. He handed me a black and gold business card. It had the bar's address, close to my company and my home. We hadn't contacted each other for so long, turns out he was preparing something big. Jonathan was a bar owner. Played in a band, rode motorcycles, mixed amazing drinks. My friends all recommended his bar to me. After visiting a few times, I realized he had real business sense. He crafted himself a heartthrob persona. Drifting among countless flowers, untouched by any single leaf. He could chat, play, drink with customers, sometimes flirting lightly. With those intoxicating peach blossom eyes, he had coaxed many wealthy women into opening expensive bottles. But when it came to one-night stands, he always refused with a smile. His explanation, principles, he only did intimate things with his girlfriend. That trick hooked countless girls even harder. They spent money like crazy chasing him. At that time, I had just broken up with Lucas. I had learned enough lessons. Dark, unstable little puppy types should be admired from afar, never handled. If I wanted a real partner, it had to be a mature, rational adult. Jonathan was the best choice for a transition period. He seemed flirtatious, but his heart was colder than a knife that had gutted fish for 10 years at a supermarket. So I played without worries. No matter how sweet his words were, I never bought drinks. I even freeloaded several of his signature cocktails. Jonathan had never been taken advantage of by a woman. The more I didn't take the bait, the stronger his desire to conquer became. When I felt the timing was right, I stopped going to the bar. A month later, Jonathan messaged me. Been busy lately? I glanced at Lucas hiding in the shadows downstairs. Replied. An ex won't stop bothering me. I don't even dare leave the house. Half an hour later, Jonathan arrived downstairs. He and Lucas got into a fight. After rushing downstairs, Jonathan stood in front of me. "If you harass my girlfriend again, I'll call the police." I raised a brow, lips curling automatically. Lucas stared at me. With how well he knew me, he quickly realized I had set them up. He had become the catalyst that helped me be with someone else. Lucas deflated like a punctured balloon. The final trace of hope in his eyes disappeared. He turned and left. I gently touched the wound at the corner of Jonathan's mouth. "Does it hurt? Let me put some medicine on it for you." He silently let me pull him into the elevator. The moment I closed the apartment door, he pressed me against it and kissed me. The day after we made our relationship official, I told him to get a medical exam. And of course, to show sincerity, I got one too. Mutual responsibility, after all. I thought the relationship would end quickly. Until I overheard him on the phone with his family. "I have a girlfriend. It's serious. I'll bring her home for New Year." My hair instantly stood on end. Who? Not me, right? Even worse, I found a ring hidden in the bouquet he gave me. I was so terrified I didn't dare eat the beautiful dinner he made. When he went to the bathroom, I took the chance to run. A player wanting to settle down, I could understand. But I wasn't planning to be that sure. I thought adults would understand it without needing to say it. Instead, he clung even harder than Lucas, accusing me of trampling on his sincere heart. I might have said something too harsh. After that day, he disappeared. What did I say again? Oh, right. Someone like you who's basically selling himself, what sincere heart could you possibly have? Chapter 14. I glanced up and noticed his outfit was completely different from before. He used to have a wild wolf-cut hairstyle, looking cool and rebellious. Under his leather jacket was a black tank top barely able to hide his muscles. Every time he took off his jacket, he instantly became the center of attention. With the pounding music, the lines of his muscles were enough to make anyone's blood race. Now, his hair was cut short. He'd taken off his earrings. Under a casual jacket was a proper white t-shirt. Everything below the collarbone was covered up completely. He noticed my gaze. "So, do I look like a decent person now?" I didn't respond. He had an inherently unruly face yet dressed so restrained, it only made him more tempting. "Weren't you supposed to treat me to a meal?" Jonathan stood up quickly, as if afraid I'd change my mind if he was one step late. "Let's go. What do you want to eat?" He gave me a meaningful look, then recited dish after dish. Pan-seared foie gras, black truffle mushroom soup, beef Wellington, heart-shaped lava cake. The more I listened, the more wrong it felt. Wasn't this the exact meal I ran away from last time? I frowned, displeased. "That's enough. I have a boyfriend now, or are you planning to have dinner with him too?" Jonathan shut his mouth resentfully. Then suddenly turned his head, looking past me. "Your boyfriend?" I followed his gaze. Across the street, a man was staring at us intensely. A cold, restrained anger lingered in his eyes. It was indeed Edward. He walked straight up to me and questioned. "Why didn't you answer my calls?" I checked my phone, more than 10 missed calls. I silenced it for a client meeting. "Why are you here?" Containing his anger, he very obviously stepped between Jonathan and me. "I saw your post saying you were stuck in traffic, so I called your assistant. She told me you were here. So Jonathan must have also come after seeing my post." I glanced at both of them. "Well, since you're both here, want to have dinner together?" Edward and Jonathan stared at me, utterly incredulous. Chapter 15. Edward's fists clenched with audible cracking. He finally snapped and punched Jonathan in the face. "What right does he have to eat with us?" Jonathan was annoyed too and returned a punch. "Hey, with your attitude, you'll become an ex like me soon enough. What's there to brag about?" Edward's temple throbbed violently. He grabbed Jonathan's collar and punched him again. "So you know damn well you're the ex. Why the hell are you still haunting her?" Jonathan retorted confidently. "Why can't exes be friends? What, are you restricting your girlfriend's freedom to socialize?" I noticed people on the street pulling out their phones to record. I quickly pushed between them. "Enough. Aren't you too embarrassed? Jonathan brushed off the dust on his clothes, frowning. He hit me first. I turned to Edward. You're in the wrong here. Apologize. Edward's eyes reddened in fury. He was the one coveting you first. Jonathan's gaze flickered, he didn't deny it. I looked away. I was almost late. I only made it on time because of him. And you. You show up and punch him the first moment. Shouldn't you apologize? A long, silent standoff. Edward finally gritted out a strained sorry. Jonathan hummed smugly. Dinner was impossible now. I simply got into Edward's car and headed home. I opened my social media feed. Jonathan had posted an opening day promotion. Lucas had reacted with a downvote, no, wrong, he had liked the post. Then commented, lingering like a ghost. Dominic was much calmer. Congratulations. Wait. Why the hell were the three of them friends? But thinking again, they were familiar with each other. They were always the ones who gathered around like moths whenever I broke up with someone. What, did shared suffering turn into camaraderie? The thought almost made me laugh. While driving, Edward suddenly spoke. You were planning to eat alone with him? Why didn't you tell me? Chapter 16. I turned off my phone screen. You even care if I have a meal with a friend? Edward's expression was tense. But he's your ex-boyfriend. Enough. My face cooled. Edward, you really can't let this go? Fine. Back then, didn't you meet up with Alicia behind my back all the time? Did I say anything? You hugged her under the excuse of treatment. Did I say anything? When I fought with her and she cried, you stood on her side and lectured me. Did I say anything? All of that is long past. I never brought it up again, yet you come here to accuse me. What right do you have to accuse me? Edward didn't reply. The hand gripping the steering wheel turned pale. After a long moment, he squeezed out a soft "I'm sorry." I let out a small laugh. If you can't accept me interacting with other men, then let's break up. Pull over. Edward slammed the brakes. He grabbed my hand tightly, face contorted. No. I unfastened my seatbelt. Let go, before we cause an actual accident. Edward had no choice but to let me out. Conveniently, the rideshare I called had just arrived. Dominic's car was warm. His tone gentle. Your ex-boyfriend looked terrifying. I opened a WeChat minigame, unbothered. The biu sound effects echoed in the car. He's an ex already. Who cares? A glimmer of laughter flickered in Dominic's eyes. Want to come to my place? I shot him a sideways glance. I have my own home. What would I go to yours for? I dug out the business card Jonathan had given me. Here, take me there. Dominic stopped smiling. He delivered me safely to the destination. We said nothing the whole way. Before getting out, I hooked my arm around his neck and kissed him deeply. When we separated, both of us were slightly out of breath. Thanks for the ride. Dominic brushed a strand of hair from my face. Go on. Chapter 17. The decor looked almost identical to the previous bar. I walked up to the counter. The bartender stared at me for a moment, then suddenly pulled out his phone as if confirming something. I ordered a drink. The mixologist kept glancing my way too. Before long, Jonathan entered from the door. His steps were quick, his movement stirring the air and his coat hem. He blinked those beautiful eyes. So it really is you. I patted his cheek lightly. You got me dumped. How are you planning to compensate me? Jonathan froze. Then a slow smile spread across his face, the little mole at the corner of his eye vivid and striking. He cleared his throat, trying to suppress the upward curl of his lips. Wait here. I'll make you a drink. Long Island iced tea, okay? One drink later, we were already in bed. The lighting in his break room matched the bar, purple, blue, red, colors that stirred desire without reason. In the haze of heat and confusion, I lightly pushed him back. Jonathan opened the bedside drawer and pulled out a medical report. Done just days ago. I gripped him tightly, putting some pressure behind it. Premeditated? Jonathan inhaled sharply, then laughed. I do one every month. Call it, waiting for the rabbit to fall into the trap. After I released him, Jonathan kissed me. It was inexperienced, almost clumsy. It reminded me of our first time. His technique had been green and unsure, nothing like how a so-called player should be. I'd assumed he was maintaining his persona in front of me, so I let it slide. I didn't expect him to still be lacking now. I hesitated. "You're serious?" Jonathan flushed with a hint of shame. He gritted his teeth. "I told you, you're the only one. If you don't believe me, what else can I do? I send you my schedule every day. Did you not see it?" After we broke up, he had disappeared for a while, then resumed contacting me as if nothing happened. Sending video check-ins every half hour. I found it annoying, so I muted him and folded the chat. Seeing my silence, Jonathan grew frustrated. He took it out on me with renewed intensity. I sighed softly, pressed a hand to his chest, and shifted positions. Jonathan looked up at me, his eyes shimmering with a hazy glow. That singing voice of his vibrated in a low hum, even more seductive than before. Chapter 18. I stayed at Jonathan's place for a few days. Then I suddenly received a call from Lucas. He had come to City H to look for a job. On his way to an interview, he fell off his bike and fractured his foot. Once, I had a severe flu, bad enough to worry anyone. Lucas was the one who stayed by my side day and night for a full week. At that time, we had already broken up long ago. Later I heard from his friends that he fell sick for days after returning to school. Because of that past affection, I couldn't just ignore him now. When the doctor said he could be discharged, I brought him back to my home. As I opened the door, Edward was still there. He clearly recognized Lucas. His steps froze instantly. The joy on his face vanished completely, leaving only disbelief. "Amanda, you actually brought him home?" I looked at him impatiently. "First of all, we've already broken up. Whoever I bring home has nothing to do with you. Second, do you have no empathy? Even if we hadn't broken up, he's injured, alone in this city, what's wrong with me helping him? Didn't you bring Alicia home before? Did I stop you?" Edward broke down. He grabbed my hand like a drowning man grabbing a lifeline. "You're doing this to get back at me, right? You aren't serious with any of them, right?" I flicked off his hand, confused. "You acted like your behavior was harmless back then and accused me of overreacting. Why is it suddenly revenge now when I do the same?" Edward's lips turned pale, unable to say a word. Lucas coughed weakly, face full of caution. "Sweetheart, don't fight because of me. I can leave." I patted him lightly in reassurance. "Don't be afraid. This is my home. If anyone's leaving, it's him." I pushed Lucas toward the guest room. As I brushed past Edward, I said coldly, "By tomorrow at the latest, you need to move out." Behind me, everything fell completely silent. Chapter 19. Edward didn't leave, he even started cooking. He wore an apron, expression emotionless. "I'll go. But since you're busy with work, I'll take care of him for a while. Consider it paying off rent." "Fine." I turned and walked away. The moment Jonathan learned Edward and I hadn't reconciled, he squeezed himself into my home the next day. "You two have to work during the day. I'm free, I can take care of him." Lucas glared and refused. "I don't want him." Jonathan grabbed him by the back of the neck. "Amanda's busy. Don't be stubborn, kid. The most important thing right now is unity, got it?" Lucas looked at me, then went quiet. Dominic, wanting Lucas to recover faster, brought fresh, homemade nourishing soup every morning. I was a little shocked. "When did you guys get along so well?" The three of them exchanged glances, their faces full of mutual disgust. "All right. So, not very well." But Dominic still insisted on delivering soup. And indirectly, all four of us benefited: Lucas, me, Jonathan, even Edward. After work, Edward came home to clean. At night, he quietly cooked dinner for all four people. Mostly because Jonathan refused to leave until after dinner. Edward spent the entire day working and still didn't chase him out. Occasionally, Dominic would stop by after work too. The table, strangely, felt warm for once. And Edward said nothing. He truly seemed to regard himself as nothing more than someone who owed me a debt. His emotional stability was terrifying. But he grew more silent, thinner by the day. His cold silhouette merged with the unbreakable shadows around him. Even under warm yellow lights, no warmth touched him. If he refused to leave, there was nothing I could do. Chapter 20. A month later, Lucas found a place and moved out. The house finally became quiet again. Before going to work, I reminded Edward once more. "When are you leaving?" He continued gathering the dishes on the table, not even lifting his head. "Today." I nodded and left. I later realized I had forgotten a signed document at home. So during my lunch break, I drove back to get it. When I opened the door, I heard a muffled cough. Edward was lying on the sofa. His brows were tightly furrowed, and his face was flushed unnaturally red. Even when I walked right up to him, he still didn't wake. I reached out and touched his forehead. Burning hot. A fever. No wonder he'd looked so pale this morning. I patted him. "Edward, don't sleep anymore, go to the hospital." He slowly opened his eyes. The corners were dry, filled with red veins. He stared at me without much expression. "You're sick and didn't say anything. Why push yourself like this?" I was about to turn away, when he suddenly grabbed my wrist. His voice trembled, as if I were a hallucination. "Amanda. Let go." Edward instantly released me, eyes pleading, a rare vulnerability. "Don't leave, please." I let out a helpless laugh. "How am I supposed to get your medicine if you don't let go?" Edward stared intently at me as I searched through drawers and cabinets, as if afraid I would disappear the moment he blinked. I poured him a cup of warm water, frowning as I read the instructions. "Take one fever-reducing pill and sleep for a while. If it doesn't work, I'll take you to the hospital." Edward nodded and obeyed quietly. I grabbed the document and prepared to return to work. Edward suddenly rushed to the door and wrapped his arms around me tightly. "Amanda, I'm sorry. I did so many things that hurt you. I'm sorry." My voice remained calm. "The past is the past. Why bring it up? You can vent your anger at me, make things hard for me, as long as it makes you happy, I'll accept anything. Just, don't treat me so coldly. Don't throw me away like a dog. Please." He was crying so hard he couldn't speak clearly, his face full of despair. I turned and hugged him back. "See, I didn't throw you away. Rest well. Stop overthinking. This weekend we'll go on a drive, just the two of us. Okay?" Edward looked at me with tearful, shining eyes. And finally, after so many days, he smiled. "Okay." Chapter 21. After Edward and I reconciled, we became even sweeter. He busied himself preparing everything we needed for our weekend picnic. Just a simple outing, yet he treated it like he was receiving national leaders. Soon, Friday arrived. Lucas suddenly sent me a photo. "Sweetheart, this back view looks really familiar, kind of like your boyfriend. I'm not trying to stir trouble. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I can't just stand by and watch you get deceived. Are you okay? Do you want me to come keep you company?" I stared at the two people in the photo. Even if they were reduced to ashes, I'd still recognize them. I sent Edward a message. "What are you doing?" "I'm a little hungry. I want to eat your cooking." He replied immediately. "At work. I'll cook when I get home. Anything you want." "At work?" "More like in someone else's bed. A dog really can't stop eating shit." I let out a cold laugh, grabbed my bag, and headed out. At the cafe, I walked toward them step by step in my heels. "So, here again for your so-called skin hunger treatment?" Photos were scattered across the table. A picture of me kissing Dominic in a car. A picture of me holding hands with Lucas. A picture of me entering and leaving a bar with Jonathan. After a brief panic, Alicia regained her confidence upon seeing those photos. She sneered. "You actually dare question us? Look at how many times you've cheated on Edward. You don't deserve him at all." I picked up one of the photos and laughed. "What, are you so desperate and thirsty every day that you have to stalk and spy on others to feel something? When you're horny, just admit it. Why pretend it's some kind of skin hunger illness?" Alicia flushed with shame and fury, raising her hand to hit me. I grabbed her hair and slapped her across the face 3 times. "What's wrong?" Only other people's boyfriends can treat your illness, is that it? I picked up the gift box on the table, ready to smash it onto the floor. Edward rushed up and stopped me. Alicia immediately hid behind him, covering her face and sobbing, but her eyes were full of smug triumph. I loosened my grip and laughed mockingly. Alicia's right. I really don't deserve you. You two are a natural pair. Edward reached for my hand. His touch was cold, no warmth at all. His pale complexion showed a panic he could barely handle. Amanda, it's not what you think. I slapped him hard. The accessory on my hand left a bleeding scratch across his face. No wonder you insisted on getting back together. Turns out you two rutting strays needed me as part of your little ecosystem. If I walked away, you'd have no audience, right? No stage for you two to act out your we're only friends but secretly cheating fantasy, right? 6 years ago it was this disgusting. 6 years later you're still the same. You two filthy bastards are absolutely revolting. After I left, the staff finally dared to approach, nervously asking, "Do you need help?" Alicia bit her lip, a spark of hopeful longing in her eyes. "Edward, you protected me. Does that mean you still care about me?" Edward said nothing. He gently opened the gift box. Inside was a cup identical to the one he had shattered before. He'd said he wanted to replace it. He had searched for a long time to find it. But now, a long crack stretched across the cup. Tears fell instantly from his eyes. "It's broken. I can't make it up to her anymore." Chapter 22. After another breakup, I drank myself into oblivion at a bar. The bartender spammed his boss with messages. By the time Jonathan arrived, Dominic had already beaten him to me. Jonathan's gaze was hostile as he reached out to take me. Dominic sidestepped and held me firmly in his arms. His tone was calm. "Last time she came looking for you, I didn't stop her." Jonathan had no comeback. He watched darkly as Dominic carried me away. The late autumn wind sobered me up considerably. All the way, I cursed those cheating scumbags at the top of my lungs. Dominic responded to each sentence. Should they die for what they did? They should. If they won't let me live peacefully, I won't let them either. Agreed. That Alicia is a disgusting stalker. She secretly took so many photos of my private life. I can't swallow this. Dominic carried me into the elevator. He thought for a moment, then quickly came up with a solution. "I found out she's having an affair with her boss. I can get someone to photograph them and send it to his wife. How about that?" I heard his wife is formidable. I curved my lips in satisfaction and nuzzled my forehead against his neck. "Is this also part of what you owe me?" Dominic chuckled softly, warmth melting into his eyes. "Yes. So whatever you want to do, I'll support it. I'll always stand on your side." He lifted his head and met Edward's sharp, icy gaze. Dominic smiled gently. "She's drunk. I'm taking her home." Chapter 23. I narrowed my eyes. When I recognized Edward, I immediately grabbed a cup from the table and hurled it at him. "You filthy bastard, why aren't you gone yet?" He didn't move. Glass shattered at his feet. Dominic sounded a little helpless. "Amanda, that was your favorite cup." "I don't care. Throw him out for me right now." Dominic coaxed me back into the bedroom. "Okay. I'll go drive him out. Just close your eyes first." Only when I fell asleep did he step out quietly. Edward stood like an unmoving statue. Still frozen where he was. He stared at the shattered pieces on the floor. After a long time, he finally spoke, hoarse. "These 6 years, what happened to Amanda?" Dominic's fist tightened sharply. The veins on the side of his neck bulged. His eyes turned colder than ever. "That's something you should ask yourself. 6 years ago, what exactly did you do to her?" Chapter 24. When I woke up, Dominic was in the kitchen making that familiar throat-soothing herbal soup. The same apron as always. I hugged him from behind. "I'm starving." Steam curled in the air. Dominic smiled softly. "It'll be ready soon." I rose on my toes and gently bit his earlobe. "That's the hunger I meant." Dominic's muscles tensed instantly. He didn't hesitate. He turned off the stove, then lifted me effortlessly with one long motion. I laughed and kissed him on the lips. Whether in bed or off it, he was always the same person, gentleness carried through to the very end. Sometimes, when the tenderness was too much to bear, I would bite his shoulder hard. The marks on Dominic's skin seemed to never fade. But he always smiled in satisfaction, then lowered his head, and, just as I wished, deepened the intensity. No matter how harsh my scratches were, for the entire night, he wouldn't stop again. Chapter 25. City H had officially entered its continuous rainy season. That night brought a torrential storm. Wrapped in a blanket, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows. The reflection on the glass showed the bright rain lily tattoo on my ankle. Storm and rain are not the end, they are the signal to bloom. Watching the person who once caused me so much pain standing in the downpour dragged down by despair, helplessness and regret, unable to break free, I felt nothing but delight. I rejected his calls again and again, fully enjoying the sight of him shattering. Edward. So you do mind when I meet other men alone? Then why did you tell me back then? I just didn't want you to misunderstand. Nothing happened. Why make such a big deal out of it? So you do get angry when I show intimacy with someone else? Then why did you say Alicia grew up with me? She's like a sister. She's acting like this because she's sick. Can you stop being so dirty-minded? So you do feel hurt when I bring another man home? Then why did you say she has nowhere else to go? It's just a few days. This isn't only your home. If you can't stand it, you can leave. Turns out he never thought any of this was normal. When the same thing happened to him, he collapsed, raged, despairing. It wasn't that he couldn't understand my pain. He saw it clearly, but chose to ignore it. He watched coldly as I struggled in the mud. Even took pride in my tears. See, you're hurting so much, but you're still here. So he hurt me even more wantonly. Even when I was determined to walk away, they kept appearing in front of me as if only in my presence could they sing praises of their restrained, forbidden love. I fell into that terrifying emotional abyss again and again. My tears had long run dry. All that remained was exhaustion and numbness. Now Edward's bloodless face looked exactly like mine once did in the mirror. He was never special. The blade hurts him too. I once thought that tree was tall, lush with beautiful branches. But that was only the filter created by my love. Once my love disappeared, so did the magic. What remained was withered, yellow, ruined, and unbearably ugly. Chapter 26. My friends always say they envy my attitude toward life. That I'm always the one holding the upper hand in relationships, that I never let myself be wronged. They're curious, just how excellent must my first love have been to win my affection? How should I put it? My first love was a bastard. Yet I once humbled myself to the ground for him. The wound had long stopped hurting. But whenever someone brings it up, it still sticks in my throat like a thorn. Some people's wounds fade slowly with time. Others' wounds are like a curse, they look healed but are ripped open in an unguarded moment, the scab peeled away, revealing rotting flesh underneath. If I feel even a flicker of happiness, that wound is torn open again, bleeding fiercely. Over and over. The only way to heal is to return pain for pain. To cut him just as deeply in the place where he once cut you. Only then can you finally sleep peacefully. Even after 6 years deep down, I'm still that perfectionist. Only when you suffer the same way I once did is the matter considered settled. Edward stubbornly called me again and again, sending countless desperate messages begging for reconciliation. He humbly explained what happened at the cafe. He said he hadn't been in contact with Alicia for a long time. He said he only went to see her because he feared she might threaten me. He said he'd never again get jealous over other men as long as I was willing to look at him. Watching that silent figure standing in the rain for the first time in 6 years, that old wound finally began to heal. Chapter 27. Edward stood in the rain downstairs from my apartment for several days. When his body could no longer take it, he collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. He developed severe pneumonia. His body was left with irreversible damage. His mother finally called me, she couldn't reach me any other way. Amanda. I'm Edward's mother. Could you please come see him at the hospital? Her tone was cautious, full of pleading. We'd met each other's parents before. Edward's mother had once texted me scolding Edward harshly, ashamed that she had raised such a son, wishing me all the best in my future. I sighed. Auntie, let me speak to him. When he heard my voice, Edward became so emotional he coughed for a long time. Amanda, cough, you're finally willing to talk to me. I'll come find you right now. There was panic and chaos on the other end. Edward. He quieted immediately. I'm here. You think I agreed to get back together because I still loved you? No. It's because when it comes to you I never need to consider your feelings. Your pain and your tears don't affect me at all. I don't need to treat you like a boyfriend, or even like a person. Just like how you treated me back then. Edward the First never forgave you. And I never will. Get lost, trash. Chapter 28. After the rain, the sky finally cleared. A rare good day. I had been working non-stop for a big project for days. Finally I had a day off and could sleep in. But I was awakened by my phone ringing. It was my mom. What's up, Mom? She first asked about my health and daily life. I patiently listened, waiting for her to get to the point. Ahem, Amanda, since you're working in City H, I have an old classmate whose son is also in City H. Do you want to meet him? I was speechless. Of course, another attempt to get me married. I refused without hesitation. No. I told you many times, I don't do blind dates. She hurried to explain. No, it's not a blind date. He just wants to make a friend. I saw his photo and thought you might like him, so I asked. If you don't want to, forget it. Mom's been dreaming a lot lately, seeing our wedding photos, telling little you how beautiful the wedding dress was. Saying you'd grow up and marry someone you love and be happy like your dad and me. But now I understand, marriage doesn't guarantee happiness, and not getting married doesn't mean you'll be unhappy. As long as your life makes you happy now, that's enough. Whether you marry or not, you'll always be our beloved daughter. My mom hated how I changed boyfriends like changing clothes. She always wanted me to settle down early. We fought about it countless times. But now she didn't say you'll be alone when you're old, or people will judge us, or you'll regret not getting married. She talked about my pure childhood wishes. She said she just wanted me to be happy. She even tried to help me find a boyfriend, not a husband. My throat tightened. My heart unexpectedly settled. After a long pause I finally said, okay. I'll meet him. Chapter 29. After Edward disappeared, everyone became refreshed and cheerful. Somehow the three of them created a group chat called Awaiting Good News and even dragged me into it. Jonathan tagged me, want to go on an outing? Dominic, I'm free. Lucas, I'm free too, I casually replied, no time. I'm going on a blind date. 3 question marks instantly popped up. I tossed my phone into my bag, humming as I drove to the restaurant. There's something exciting about opening a blind box. My mom's taste is actually reliable. After all, my dad was basically the campus heartthrob back in the day. And in her eyes even he was just okay. I pushed the door open and found the table. Sorry, I'm late. He stood up wearing a smoke gray suit with refined tailoring. You're not late. I just arrived early. When I looked up I fell straight into a pair of deep amber eyes. A brief moment of surprise, then I laughed. So it's you. He sat across from me. His voice was clear, smooth, tinted with a smile. Hello. My name is Sean. Chapter 30. When I opened my phone again there were 99 plus messages, all from them. Lucas, sweetheart, I can be obedient, I can warm your bed, and my family's rich. Please vote for me when you get married. Jonathan, thinking about marriage, if you didn't like the previous ring I'll customize a new one immediately. Dominic, dinner's ready. Waiting for you to come home. I couldn't be bothered replying one by one. So I simply typed in the group, in a relationship. Do not disturb. And folded all their chats. Half a year later the long silent group became active again. Fireworks filled the screen congratulating the new member. Sean, after a long pause, wrote, thank you.